All right, thank you so much for sticking with us. We proceed with this morning conversation. That was a very live interview from Kisumu. Interesting one indeed, with our very own Victor Olo talking to Professor Anyango, who is the governor of Kisumu County, discussion on matters concerning development within that particular county. And now we shift gears into women at the forefront on this fine Wednesday morning. Now, my name is Aguko. It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for choosing KBC Channel 1. As we talk about matters concerning women at the forefront, ending gender-based violence. How far are we in this fight against gender-based violence? To help us in this conversation, I am with Linette Anyango. She is a program assistant and educator from Hidden Tears, Kenya. Karibu sana, Linette.
Asante.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
Feeling okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today. First things first, what is Hidden Tears Kenya all about?
Hidden Tears Kenya is a youth-led organization. We are about empowerment and innovation.
All right.
So we deal with gender, we deal with education, and we also deal with innovation in technology.
So you mix technology in your campaigns or discussions?
Yes.
Right?
We do.
What's your take in regards to the status of gender-based violence in the country? As we speak, we still have a discussion of 1 out of every 3 women who currently, according to statistics, could have experienced a form of gender violation. Or your thoughts in regards to how far we are at as a country?
I can say we are making steps, but generally more work could be done because GBV is a hidden vice. So you say 1 out of 3, probably I say it could be more than that.
Could be more than that.
Could be even 2
1
out
out
of 3
women, it could be more than that.
Could even be 2 out of 3. Because most of the cases are never reported. So yes, we are making good steps, but the situation is not so good. We still need to do more. Every waking moment, today, if I'm to log into social media, I'll find a case of GBV. So I'd say it's bad.
Are there those things, what are some of those things that are promoting gender-based violence in the country? Those promoters, the advocates of, the vices that are there within the country that actually promote, and some of them we may not even know it, but they're actually promoting gender-based violence. Some of those things that we need to take a keen eye on.
Well, for starters, these are some of the things that have been with us. It's just that they keep on changing the faces. When you talk about culture, the culture is still with us, but it sort of changes the face on how now it affects. For example, there was this lady who was in Korea. She escaped FGM and she went back, and the brothers beat her up and forcefully did the act on her. Yeah. So culture still plays a huge role. It's just that it's a bit hidden. It's tied within the, let's say, socialization, if I can sum it up. How we socialize people into the society. Because in some parts of the country, we are still socializing our girls to know that it's okay to undergo the cut. Within the various cultures, how we relate, as youths, as people in various institutions, we encourage patriarchy and abuse of power. Okay? So this is in the form of what you nowadays dub as toxic masculinity, where men preach to other men to view women in a particular light, and women encourage other women to treat men in a particular way. So that patriarchal mechanism of socializing men against women, or people towards or against a particular gender, is a huge concern, I'd say, as it stands now.
And those are the things that actually promote.
Yes, it promotes, because if you look, of course you can say there are things such as poverty, drug abuse, inadequate information out there, but at the end of the day, the socialization drives all this. Yes.
And if you look at all these statistics, all these factors that promote it, Is it possible for us to end gender-based violence? And how can we do that?
It is very much possible for us to end GBV. And we can do that by taking up a personal initiative and doing collaborative work. Because when you look at the systems in Kenya right now, there are systems to deal with GBV, but they are fragmented. So people are not communicating. The CHV is communicating with the hospital, but communication somewhere is lost between the hospital, the police, the judiciary, and there's just a mix of everything.
And all these are systems.
All these are systems that are there.
Hospitals,
yeah.
Just to name but a few of these systems.
Yeah.
The hospitals and?
The police, the judiciary, and of course for us, people in the private sector. And we all need to be talking to each other because these systems, they are in place. But what is lacking essentially is talking to each other and strengthening our processes. Yeah, so we can start by doing that. We can strengthen the already existing processes that are put in place to end GBV. And secondly, we can do collaborative efforts. So we talk to each other. Yeah, as an individual, there's something you can do on GBV. Just concluding this session by saying, hey, let's end GBV. It goes to something.
You've done something.
Yeah. As a teacher out there, it's not like you're totally powerless. Just going to class and telling those your 100 students, hey, GBV is bad. Or, being a man is not all about beating a woman. It goes a long way. Yes.
And I'm looking at the value of every entity in the country, every individual in the country.
Precisely.
And we're saying, even to that person that is selling tomatoes.
Precisely.
They have a voice in this fight against gender-based violence. But now someone may say, that is work for the corporates. It's meant to be discussed at conferences. What do you think about the knowledge that is there on the ground, at the ground level? They say, qua ground is different.
It is.
Yeah. How can we change the perception of gender-based violence on the ground?
First, I think as members of the society who know more, we need to start by being role models. You preach what you teach.
I love that.
Secondly, we need to integrate more participation in the process. I mean, truly integrate, like work with the people who are there. One thing I realized is that when you go as an organization, the answers you will be given is different when you walk in as a person. So we need to see how can we relate with these youths and these people who are perpetrating this so that they can be fully open to us and we see how to help them, right? Yeah. And we also need to tap into the power of social media and the power of volunteers.
Right.
Right now we have, of course, there are volunteers in all institutions. We have community health volunteers, but it's very powerful because they are the people who reach to that hustler, as you call them, huyo mama mboga. That CHV will reach to that person. So we need to educate the CHVs first so that no information is lost in between. And we also need to do more, basically more empowerment to the ground. Target the institutions, do this through social media, do this through role modeling, incorporate this in our education systems. You will be surprised. You think that people are so informed in this generation. But then they're superficially informed. You start having a conversation and they know something about GBV, yes, but now when you start digging deeper, somebody can't even tell you, like, now, what is gender identity? What is gender expression? Why is it you're directing this hate towards this particular person? That deep conversation, it's not there.
And let's even dig deeper, because in your experience, you've walked around, you've had social engagements.
Yes.
There are those instances that you've noticed and you've picked out that have stood out for you as an individual. I want us to give me just a glimpse of some of those experiences you've had while on the ground. And you're like, this is a story I can never forget. And this is something that touched you and made you say, you know what? We must talk about GBV. We must talk about ending it immediately in the country. I know you've managed to interact with people on the ground and you've managed to pick out some of those experiences as you are on the ground.
Actually, you will be surprised. The one that stood out to me I didn't even encounter it in the field. It
What?
was my neighbor. My neighbor.
Your neighbor?
They were fighting in the middle of the night. The mama has a child, and the mzee is also there. So they are fighting. They're fighting, the windows are breaking, there's blood everywhere, the caretaker is coming, you know. And, you know, this was now close to me. I could not say that I had or I reported to the scene after it had happened. It was happening live. I'm hearing. It's only that I couldn't hear the language, but I was witnessing what was happening. And so it you know, seeing with your eyes, there's a way it changes you. And the baby is there, the baby is crying. Huh? And the glass is shattered, and now you're just wondering what is happening here. The glass is shattering everywhere, and it's going to the baby is crying, the mother is crying, you know. And now people are beginning to wake up, and they're trying to come in between. And the man is saying, it's at night. And the man is saying, well, I'm going to kill you today. I'm going to kill you today. And the neighbors are coming, and, you know, it was just so bad. So that struck me close to home. You know, there's a difference between going and being given the story and witnessing it in front of your very own eyes. And the lady had to be hospitalized, unfortunately, but she got well. So, yeah, that stood out for me because it was personal. There are definitely many other stories, gruesome stories. Sometimes you go, you find the man is threatening to set the child on fire, you know, beaten, broken limbs, and this is a child. That means the GBV crossed over from the partner to the child. And now it just breaks your heart.
And interestingly, some of these, not some, wrong terminology, most of them end up unreported.
Yeah.
Is this because of lack of information from the ground? Or is this stigma? What is the reason why we do not see the statistics being as real as possible?
Well, I will say it's stigma. Remember when I said that most of these things, they go back to how people are socialized. So you find it's not like they don't know that they should be reporting or they don't want to report. It's the stigma and discrimination that they face in the process of reporting. And this stigma and discrimination, it comes from everywhere. Because some people will say, I confided in my parents and they told me, ndoa ni kuvumilia. I confided in my pastor and they said, it's not allowed.
Pray about it.
Pray about it. It is not allowed. You know, sometimes, especially for the men, they say, how will I go to the police station to be laughed at by my fellow men?
Because my wife beat me up.
Because my wife beat me up. You know? So it's the stigma and discrimination that is stopping these people from speaking out. And especially because we attach shame to GBV. You know, where we should be attaching empathy and understanding, we attach shame. So somebody automatically feels ashamed, even reporting and saying, hey, you know, my wife beat me yesterday night. They can't. They are already ashamed of that. Yeah.
And we need to let people know there's nothing shameful about it.
We do.
Gender-based violence is violence. And one thing that many people do not actually realize is gender-based violence is actually a human rights concern. And when we have such a thing happening, is a violation of your rights.
Yes, it is.
Is that true?
It's true. It's a direct violation of your human right.
And if you look at the stigmatization, what can we do to end the stigma around it?
The stigma, ooh, this is a tough one because people grow up, you know, the way you socialize somebody.
Yes.
You know, this saying, it might be cliche, but it's real because I've seen it. You can take the man out of the village, but you cannot take the village out of the man.
Sounds like a joke, but
but it's true.
It's a very serious thing.
Because most of the time we tend to think that if somebody's a media personality, he's a doctor, she's a lawyer, now this person all of a sudden has dropped the biasness that he or she had grown up with. But you can walk into some of these institutions and you find these very people promoting these things. Why? Because of the extent of how they were socialized. It has been ingrained in them. So it's a bit difficult, yeah? So I'd say, let's start by educating our children as early as possible, so that they grow up knowing about these concepts of what gender is, what is GBV, and how does it affect the society.
Could you be referring also to the education system? Can that also play a role?
Yes, actually. According to the KDS, the report that was it was put forth in 2022, you find that people who are not in relationships, the second cause, the perpetrators, aside from the partners, now for the people who are not in relationships, were the teachers. So you can imagine what that says. It's in the report. Teachers.
They are the violators.
Yes. Physical. GBV. Teachers. KDHS 2022. It's there. So the education system needs to do something about that. And then we also have to reorient, of course, there should be continuous education in these institutions, right? So we need to be continuously educating people in the education sector, in the legal sector, you know, in the military, about GBV and the role they play in either stopping or perpetrating, you know, these acts. Yes, it needs to be there. We should not just assume that somebody's an adult now they know. We should always be continuously educating these people. And of course, on the other side, all we can do is encourage the law to do what it's supposed to do. Yes.
Do you have projects as Hidden Tears Kenya that you're engaged in that help especially in this fight against GBV?
Yes, we have United Against GBV. So basically this is a program that works in 3 ways. We mentor select few, what we call leaders or key people. So we can identify leaders in institutions, leaders in community, and then we train them on GBV and release them to go and spread the message. Secondly, we also have direct education.
Okay.
Okay, we educate the people directly, and we form social groups, and we educate them within those social groups about GBV. And lastly, we also provide counseling. For anybody who comes to our doors or we meet them and they encounter GBV or they are a victim in one way or another of GBV, we also offer counseling services as Hidden Tears Kenya.
And do people come out? Do people turn out to attend such kind of functions, especially on the sensitization areas?
I can't say it's 50-50. Sometimes it depends on the mobilization. It depends on the characteristics of the people you're dealing with. Sometimes they do turn out, sometimes they don't.
Because I'm looking at the interests in the society. And people are actually interested in having such a conversation that some actually feel very uncomfortable having. You know, that's why I'm asking that.
That's why I say it depends. Because you can go into a particular area and people come. But then you go to another area and people shy away from it. That is the complexity of the work we do. You cannot bundle everybody in the same basket. You'll go to Kawangware, for example, and people will come. And then you go to, let's say, Korogosh, and people don't come. So it depends.
And that's just
the particular group.
That's just an example, not that people of Kawangware.
Yeah, that is just an example, of course. Yeah.
That's just as an example.
Yeah.
That everybody isn't the same. People are not the same.
Yes.
And the reception will be different.
Precisely.
With the areas that you are visiting.
Yes.
I would like to give you time to have a final word as we bring this conversation to a close. And I want you to talk to Kenyans watching you today. What's your parting shot, even as we talk about ending gender-based violence in the country? Your final word and call to actions to Kenyans watching you today.
Well, I can say, let's protect our generation from GBV. And let's take this up as an individual initiative. Do not wait for the government. Do not wait for institutions. In wherever space you are, there is power that you have, okay? Even if you're just a hustler, you have your phone. You can do something on that. If you're a teacher, you can do something on that. If you're a lawyer, you can do something on that. As a teacher, as a landlord, you have power to do something about GBV. And it is the right time to start to protect this generation from GBV.
Asante sana. That is Linette Anyango, the program's assistant and educator from Hidden Tears Kenya. Linette, thank you so much for coming. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure that lives are changing, and one life touched means something. Cindy?
Definitely.
Yeah. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you for having me here.
Asante.
I only wish I had more time, even 5 hours.
We'll invite you again and tutakuja.
Yeah, you know, I feel like I have so much to say, but time, so I'm still grateful.
Thank you so much.
Let's continue protecting the generation from GBV.
Asante sana. And it is on that note that we bring this conversation to a close. My name is Aguko. It has been a pleasure being part of this discussion right here on Good Morning Kenya. What are you doing to end gender-based violence? You have a role to play. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're taking a short break. Doreen Arange will be back with more, and that is in regards to women and leadership. Keep it KBC.